We continue our conversation now with Geoff Klopp, the president of the Correctional Officers Association of Delaware. This after a prison uprising at the James Vaughn facility in Smyrna. We started to talk about what has to be done. There were several investigations launched. It seems like the feds will be taking over. Do you agree with that?
I don't know who's taking over the investigation. I believe the governor's having a press conference as we speak to make those announcements.
Do you want a state investigation? Do you trust the state to investigate?
Possibly, depending upon who they put in charge of that investigation. But, you know, nobody's reached out to us and asked us for any input in the situation at all.
So nobody's asked the correction officers themselves who are there and have to work in these conditions for their input?
No.
You do expect that, though?
I pray we get that, yes, sir.
Well, you'll be pushing for that.
Absolutely. And if not, we're going to form our own independent board through the union, and we're going to do our own investigation if we don't feel that the state and the governor's investigation is going the appropriate direction.
Because this was one of your own. This gets very personal to you.
It gets very personal, and not only that, we don't have time for another investigation. We don't have time for another big book of ideas. We have 3 different task force in 2004, 2005, and 2006. There's books that are that big that were published, of which we've done none of the changes.
Were you involved in any of that?
I was not involved in that conversation about those changes. I believe...
were correctional officers involved?
I believe we were, yes, sir.
But you're saying that didn't work?
I'm saying they didn't implement it, so we don't know if it would have worked or not. If you don't do any of the changes that people suggest on a panel to do, there's no way it's going to work. So
that's why you're saying you don't need another investigation. It's already been investigated. You just need to implement what we came up with in the first place.
Well, we have to make changes to that because times have changed in the last 12 years. Look, the biggest concern and fear that all correctional officers in the state of Delaware have right now is that we're going to put together a panel and we're going to have this big, long discussion again, and nothing's going to happen. And we don't have enough staff right now today. We need to be making decisions within the next 2 weeks that we do something to get some more staff in those buildings. We are out of time, and we are at a very, very, very dangerous place. And if we don't make some moves very soon, this is not about having conversations in committees and getting a bunch of people to walk around who've never been in a jail and have them make decisions. You need to be talking to the correction officers and the people that know what's wrong in those facilities, and you need to be accepting some of their recommendations, if not all of their recommendations, because we know the situation better than anyone else.
You understand that when you start with "we need more money," people think, oh, that's just a union talking.
Well, you know, if they do, I encourage them to please reach out to me and I'll talk to them because, you know, the fact of the matter is starting salaries around $32,000 a year. And if you go to Lewis, you can be a Lewistown policeman or a Milfordtown policeman, and they're going to start you at $48,000 a year. So which one would you rather do? And I've been with the department for 29 years, and I'm going to make $49,000 this year. So if folks just think that we're screaming for more money, we are screaming for money. We've been screaming for more money for years. We've been screaming for lots of change. And nobody's listening.
Because necessarily you're going to keep losing people. They're going to find better opportunities and they're going to keep losing people, which means you have rookies constantly, you're retraining people constantly.
Absolutely.
So it becomes more than a money industry or a salary issue, it becomes a safety issue.
It's a puppy mill. It's been a puppy mill for the last 12 years. Last year alone, in the fiscal year 2016, the Department of Correction hired 124 employees. I believe they lost either 136 or 138. So we went backwards over the course of a 12-month period, at least 10 positions.
So we're in a budget crunch right now. 300 million short is one estimation. It doesn't sound good for unions in the state to be asking for more money. It doesn't sound like this is the time. Do you think, or have you got any inclination that what happened at the correctional facility changes that for you?
I don't think that the governor and the legislator have the opportunity to not make drastic changes in the Department of Correction as to how we compensate our employees.
Is there anything else that I know you believe that has to be done. Is there anything else that's fairly obvious that has to be done?
More training. We need more training for the officers. We need better midline supervisors. They need more training. Everyone needs more training. We've been overlooked for so long. We've fallen so far behind. It is, the public really just has no idea.
Well, I'm sorry, sir, that you lost one of your own. I do appreciate that you came in here today. It is going to be an interesting year down in Dover, and I'm sure you'll be down there. And I do hope you or the people in your organization get a call about the investigations.
Thank you so much for having us on.
I really appreciate you coming in. Geoff Klopp is the president of the Correctional Officers Association of Delaware. When we come back, we'll get into the race for the Senate. Remember, there's one special election that's going to decide the fate of power in the Delaware Senate. We'll talk more about that when we come right back.